Isn't this just Green Day with extra steps? Welcome to Ray Runner Does Music, where the album subject we have today is Billy Joe Armstrong's newest project, The Longshot with Love Is for Losers. Now, ain't that relatable? This album, of course, actually got released pretty close to the announcement time of the actual band, which makes me think that a very high level of secrecy was kept. Really? My phone? A very high level of secrecy was kept throughout to keep this both not really a secret, I suppose, because obviously a lot of people involved know, like, stores getting the records and such and merch and whatever. But I do have to give it to Billy and crew, the crew who I don't know because I didn't really look them up. Oh no. I have to really give it to them for keeping it secret. But let's focus on the music here. The last music we got from Billy Joe Armstrong was with Green Day, of course, with a single Back in the USA that was actually released both in promotion and along with their newest greatest hits compilation, God's Favorite Band, which I very much enjoyed as a compilation album. If I were to ever review one, that would be the one I do. It was a very decent song. It had elements, of course, of Revolution Radio, with that being their most recent album, but it also had little bits and pieces of what felt like inspired by Nimrod, and I think maybe this was just kind of wishful thinking for something reminiscent of that era, but I felt a little bit of Kerplunk, too, with that song, and that sound translates into this new album, even as a completely new band in the Longshot. When I first listened to the initial set of 3 songs that was released as an EP, Love Is for Losers, at least on Spotify, I didn't really see what was going on there. It was released as a trio of songs, so I thought that was the original EP before we were blessed with this entire album. When I initially listened to those, it was an interesting go, of course. It felt, at first I kind of went into it with a very narcissistic thought. I was just like, wow, this is just some throwaway demos that Billy must have thought, hey, I can make money off of this. But then I listened further and further and realized that this is really what the Uno Dos Tres trilogy should have been, which is just dudes having fun. Let them have fun. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of vibes that very much connect to Green Day throughout their career with this new album, but I'll try to keep those comparisons very minimal, as I often make comparisons from one band to a previous band or a band in the future. Very much on this channel, I want to keep this as sort of a separate entity, much like Love Is for Losers really is. But I do want to say, going into this album, the first song that really stood out to me was Body Bag. It felt like a song that any other artist would have scratched off as, oh, this is a song that just, it shouldn't even be on here. We should wait like a year from now so we can slap it on with like 2 acoustics for a deluxe edition. And that's not for any lack of quality whatsoever, but it does feel unpolished in the best way. It feels very rough, very raw, and demo-like, demolicious. I'm sorry I had to make that little reference there. If you got that, love you to death. The vocal delivery Billy Joe Armstrong gets, along with the very subtle, not quite somber, but just, there's no exact way to describe it. It's a very interesting approach. I will give him credit there for that, the way he delivers it vocally. But overall, the song it doesn't really stand as much of an overall quality song from every single instrument and every piece of the band, but it's very much a song for Billy to stand out on, which is absolutely fine. As a lead singer, there are bound to be songs, multiple throughout an album, where that is the case. I did realize going through a lot of these songs that, now bear with me for a sense, because it is going to come off very pretentious at first, but there is a point eventually with it, so again, bear with me here. A lot of the songs felt very similar, and like they were different versions of some other songs, like Taxi Cab, very individual, don't get me wrong there, but then you go to songs like Love Is for Losers and Cult Hero, which while they sound very different, the ideas and concepts within very much align with each other, not so much in the way of consistency, but more so in the way of, hey, didn't I just hear that idea a few minutes ago with a song just about the same length? Length is another thing I want to very much praise here. For as much as the songs may sound the same or not have as much quality going from one song to the other, they do very well for the very limited time that they are, excuse me, that was a hiccup. They do very well for the short time they are given. So you very much get this idea of connection throughout the album that you don't necessarily get with a lot of more albums these days, because a lot of albums, whether it be bouncing from one emotion to the other, or just going from a fast-paced song to a medium-paced song, back to fast, and then really slow. It's interesting to see an album keep its just very, almost car drive sound, which is very interesting because the album cover itself is, of a car and all that. So that's very ironic in its own right. But it feels very deliberate in the way that it feels like this is just something you could pop in, drive down the interstate for a while, and just let yourself be enveloped by. That doesn't mean the album isn't cut into pieces, though. I mentioned Cult Hero a little bit earlier, though. It stands out for me, having a very energy-driven guitar track that's only brought more to light and brought more into focus with expert, well, I would say really expert, but very more intermediate vocals from Billie Joe Armstrong. This isn't his strongest vocal delivery throughout his career by any means, but you do gotta realize the man is well into his middle years. He's not necessarily old, but he's very grizzled as a veteran within the music scene at this age, so expecting just non-stop pop and grill from Billie Joe Armstrong in the vocals department isn't something you can really do, but that again lines up with the consistency thing that I mentioned earlier. I think overall the thing that really stands out for me is that this is just it's a fun album, it's an exciting album, it's one that really energizes me as a person. There are so many times where, since the album's come out, as you noticed, I'm getting this album review in a little late. I've actually been listening to this album while I play video games, while I study, while I come up with more video ideas, because it's not just a car ride album, it's not just an album to listen to once and think to yourself, well, that was forgettable, and then throw the disc out the window. It's something that I very much want to come back to over and over. It's a long-lasting piece of music magic, where I don't think 10 years from now somebody's going to mention the word music or Billie Joe Armstrong's name, and I'm immediately going to think of Love is for Losers. Great stuff! I mean, it's a great album, but it's never going to be on that quality by any means. But that's just because it's a very solid, fun album. It's a great debut LP from them, and I really can't wait to see more. They recently released Devil's Kind, which I'm hoping is just a single sort of song and just not even promotion for a new album, because we did just get, I think, 12 songs, and getting another one, while I would love it, is a little bit overwhelming. Wrapping things up here, though, with the cap off and the rating for the album. Since it's a full album, it's going to get an out of 10 rating, and I'm giving it a 6.9 out of 10. It's not groundbreaking whatsoever, but I love this album to death, even on the parts where I feel like it's the same song that I listened to just a few minutes ago. So, what do you think of this review that I just did? Did you enjoy it? Do you feel like smashing a guitar over my head because I'm just a amateur idiot reviewing albums on YouTube for no monetary gain? Yikes. Don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe, share it, Instagram it, tweet it, tout it, and be safe, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.